everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today you join me doing a little something different. Tonight I'm going to be squid fishing, and I'm going to take you through the techniques I use for squid fishing. It's getting quite popular at the moment, so I thought I'd do something different. The weather is absolutely horrendous, but I've nipped down to a local mark where I do catch my squid. I'm going to take you through the techniques I use for it. Please, as we spoke about before, the area which I'm fishing is only open to me, and there is a boundary around it of 200 metres. But so all I'm going to be doing tonight is showing you how I fish for squid techniques. There's lots of places around the UK for piers when you find with lights. That's all I'm going to be taking you through is the techniques I use for that. And what I'm going to do tonight as well is there's a big myth about squid lures. You know, you can buy really expensive ones, 15, 16 quid, and you can buy ones then on the internet now for £2. So what I'm going to do is tonight I'm going to put it to the test. I'm going to use an expensive one. I'm going to use a double paternoster, so I'll be using 2 squid jigs, and for that then I'm going to put one of the cheap ones on and one of the expensive ones on and see what we can catch. The weather is absolutely horrendous, but we're going to give it a go. I'll wrap the camera up, we get down there and we see if we can get into some squid and cuttlefish for you. As normal, what I'll do is in the next part now I'll run you through the equipment I use for squid fishing, and I'll show you the jigs I'm going to be using, one cheap one, one expensive one, and we'll see which one works tonight because it is getting quite popular, and we'll have a look at the techniques I use to catch squid and cuttlefish. But I'll quickly run you through as normal the equipment I use for it. I've got the H2O Nebula Light Gamer, perfect for squid fishing. It's got a really light tip, and that's what I find better for squid fishing. I got that coupled up with the Nebula H2O 2000 reel. I've got £10 braid, and then to the business end then I've got £30 fluorocarbon, and as you can see on my jigs here, I've got an expensive one here which is 15 quid, and I got one here out off the internet for £2.99, and we're going to give it a go. It's getting really popular now, and as you've seen in my previous videos, it's fantastic for bait. Locally caught squid will outfish any shop-bought squid by far. But it's nice and easy, kids can do it, anyone can do it. So all you need to do is find a pier with a bit of light on the water, and then normally the squid are there. But I'm finding now, when I squid fishing, before, a few years ago when I started, they used to be around November, December time, maybe September in some areas. But now they're starting to be here in August and that, but I'm going to test it this year and see if they are all year round, because I was having them at the beginning of August in here on them, and they were quite small, say 6-7 inches. When I came in here the other night, they're a bit bigger now, they're about 10-11 inches, but by November you can get them 2 or 3 pound in here. But we're going to give it a go. I'm going to put my jacket on now, because it's absolutely horrendous, it is, but we're going to give it a go anyway and see if we can get into squid with for you and see which jig works the best. I'm intrigued to find out. Right, so what I've done is here, as you can see, I've got the cheap one on the top and I got the expensive one at the bottom. The technique I like to use is so simple, but when I've come down here with different people, you know, they get it wrong. So it's simple, flick out 20 or 30 yards and I leave line out. So what I'm doing is allowing the jigs to get down to the bottom and I lock it over and just leave it time to sink in. The only issue is sometimes here, if you leave it sink too far down and draw it across the bottom, the cuttlefish, they're absolutely murdered in here, and the squid normally sit above them, but it's a totally different take as well. So I'm just allowing it now to sink down. And what I find in Israel when I'm going over slack water, especially in here and the other places I fished, they don't like the squid, they like a little bit of movement. Wind up the slack and I can feel it now, it's at the bottom, and so all I do is a simple movement, let it flutter back down. I do that 2 or 3 times, and then I do a small turn of the line. Wind's picked up, mind. So it's like we spoke about, the conditions are not brilliant. I like it to normally to be flat, calm, no wind, crystal clear. There's a little bit of a tinge to the water, so what I might have to do, what I find with that is, these ones I got on now, have got no rattle in them. So sometimes what I do, I go to a brighter colour with a, you know, the little ball bearing and the rattles in it, and that can also trigger them. But what if I do have to change to that, I will still keep a cheaper one on the top and the more expensive one then on there as well. Well, I just changed the colour. But squid fishing over the last couple of years has proper taken off. You know, it's fantastic bait, it's great fun. You know, I've come down here with Steve and we said, oh, we're going to do some bait fishing for the sole and that, and then we end up just squid fishing. So addictive, man. And then that's all I'm doing is that sink and draw technique. I like to do a couple of quick pulls up and then just let it flutter down. Leave a bit of line out. It's quite an unusual take as well when they do take it. You know, if it's a difference, subtle difference between a squid is more of a fast pull, and with a cuttlefish, when you look into it, it's more of a dead weight than a heavy weight. Thing with the cuttle as well, a lot of the times they drop off, but you get some nice spade size ones in here. I don't like them when they're too big. I've got the lights on, but I don't want to put them on too much because just in case a big bass comes down, they don't like the light, and we can see if we can drop soft plastic down from, because you get a lot of bass scooping around in here. And that's all I'm doing is sink and draw, and I'll bring it back in because I'm fishing on top of a mud plateau, because they dredge either side but they can't dredge in here, so that's where the squid are normally on. Let's pay a bit more line out. A lot of the time they sit just in front of the jetty here on the ambush, the small fish when they're coming out. You certainly don't want to be a pouting or a whitebait in there at the moment. Because when I'm looking for it, obviously I've got the pleasure of coming in here, and but if you find a jetty anywhere in your area with a light on the water, 9 out of 10 times you'll have squid there. Like we spoke about, Chesil Beach is quite productive for them, but it's great fun, man, and probably the best bait you can get. Fresh locally caught squid is brilliant. What I like to do when I come into the end of it, a couple of short sharp pulls, because the squid can chase it up and that triggers them when I come into the end of the drift. Quite funny sometimes you see the school bass chasing them, or you get mackerel and herring in here, they also chase you squid jigs. This is quite funny. So I'm just casting back out again and repeating the process. Leave my line out and then just flick it over and let it sink in. I have got quite a bit of a tide pull in here at the moment because the tide is just starting to flood in, but it's weird in here. It is flooding up now because of the structure of here. It comes like a big eddy, so the tide out there is going up, but in here and it just swirls round, and I think that's another key feature why the squid like it in here. But I tell you something, winter is definitely on its way. Definitely on its way, but the squid are getting earlier. I find them earlier every year. This year now they're in here in the beginning of August, so I'm going to put it to the test this year to see if they are in here all year round. Because they start off normally about 6 to 9 inches, and then throughout the year, and by November, December, they're about 2 or 3 pound in here. Probably if you eat them, they're good for eating that size and strip baits, but I like them when they're about, you know, between 6 and 7 inches. Fantastic bait, then you can put them on pool. And then again, I just pulled it up then. The tides wanted to slow down a little bit, that's all. Leave it go down in the bottom. I couple of pulls up there and you just flutter back down. Because what you find is the squid will hit it on the way down, because as you go to pull up, you feel the weight of them in, and then they obviously pull back in. So I'm going to keep on doing this method. I'll keep you on, I'll leave the lights on. I know it's a little bit dark with the lights up here, and as soon as I do, I'll just press over when I get the take of a squid or a cuttle. But hopefully it won't be too long now. Apologies on this part, I have to voice over because as you can see the drizzle picked up and I didn't want to use my microphone. I let this one go a little bit too close to the bottom, and as you can see I picked up a cuttlefish. But as you can see it's on the most expensive jig. As you can see, it's shooting water everywhere, and if you look at the floor behind me, you can see all the patches. That's all I simply do with a cuttlefish. Lay it on the bottom. It discharges the last of its ink, because the last thing you want is that in your face. And I'm saying, once it discharges ink, you can pick him up then, and I'm showing you that he's taken the bottom one. I walk over here and you can see how much ink a cuttlefish does actually have in it. This is as I was lifting it out the water. It's filled, as you can see, underneath the jetty with ink. And I always hold them in the water just before you pick it out, because the last thing you want is that in your face. I talk over this next little bit of a section as well. As you can see, I cast it back out and I'm straight into another one again. It gets quite furious and quite fast over here because the tide picked up a bit and they all came on the feed. As you see, I lift it up and I'm back into a squid this time. As you can see, proved the point again. Yet again, it's on the expensive one, which is much of the theme throughout the night, unfortunately, which you will see. The rain does stop on the middle section, so I'm really talking over that. After that then I go back to actually speaking there, but I just didn't want to mess up another set of microphones, which I did on one of my previous videos when the rain got on them. But as you can see, I was just explaining to you by here the technique, and I left it not so deep this time, and I was straight back into the squid. But here now I'm just talking over here how I'm just going to show you and demonstrate what I'm doing here with a better angle. As you can see, I'm casting it out about 30 yards, just letting it sink to the bottom. Not too far down again, because obviously I didn't want to catch a cuttlefish, but unfortunately I let it go back down a bit too much. As you see, a couple of quick jigs up, let it float back down, pay a bit of line out, let it sink back down. This technique I find suits me better, but you know, as long as you do a quick sharp jerk and let it float back down, it's pretty productive. It is. Just find the method which suits you best and jig up, and there I'm into another one straight away. Squid fishing can be amazing. It's great fun, as I always talk about. It's great for the kids. There's a lot of them down, as down in Weymouth. It's pretty productive for them. I swung it back in, as you can see. Unfortunately, it's another cuttlefish which is shooting his water everywhere. I have been hit in the face a few times with it. It is funny when you're around with all the boys together, but obviously it's not good gate when it happens to you. So normally, as you see, I just let it lay on the floor. It normally blows all his ink out, and you can pick him up and dispatch him. Fantastic bait this is if you want to fish for conger and that off Chesil or on the rocks. Cuttlefish is an amazing bait, quite tough as well, and you can leave it out there for ages, full of scent. They can be a nuisance sometimes when you are squid fishing. You just have to leave it, just go down a little bit too deep, and unfortunately the squid are on it then. The cuttlefish, sorry, are on it straight away. But yeah, I didn't even have time to knock the camera on here, and I was straight into a squid again. But yet again, unfortunately, as you can see, it's on that same expensive jig. As we go along, the tide does pick up quite a bit, and I do have to swap the jigs round, where I put the expensive jig second, and then I go into a cheaper one in a different colour, like I spoke about, which is heavier with a rackle, which we will go into how I cope with a lot of tide. And as you can see, cast it back out, and it's just pretty instantaneous. I just knocked the camera off for a minute, and to save the battery, I leant back, put the camera on, and I was straight into one straight away. But yet again, as you can see, the cuttlefish were proper on form.
this evening. It's proper squirting water out everywhere, and you can see the floor behind me is just covered in ink where I've been catching the squid and the cuttlefish over a few nights. But yet again, unfortunately, it's on that same jig. Does it prove a point? I don't know, but obviously I like to try it again. But the times I have been down there, unfortunately to say, the most expensive jig, which is about 14-15 quid, does do the damage. I'm not saying the cheaper ones won't, but every time I've tried it, unfortunately, the expensive ones have made a difference. And you can drop this straight back down. It's great there because you can see the fireworks in the background there, a good show on. But yet again, it was quite furious and fast over this little middle section, and I was pulling out quite a bit. Another cuttlefish again. There was a lot of them in here this evening, so I did fill my freezer up with those ready for Chesil and on the rocks. As you can see, I'm just dodging the squirting. But it, you know, I try and hold it up for the camera. Normally I just drop it on the floor and let it squirt out his ink and then dispatch it. Dispatching them is and squid is quite easy and painless. A quick chop to the back of the neck, and they lose their colour and they're dead pretty quick.
Yeah, I just worked that then 2 or 3 times. Let me go one. As you can see, lovely squid. That's about the average size of them now. And yet again, unfortunately, the ink's all over the floor. That's taken the expensive one. So as you've seen, we've got quite a few of them now. And they all seem to be going for the expensive one. But I'll get him dispatched as normal, put him in my bucket, and we'll keep on going. On this one, I'll leave the camera rolling and see if we can get one actually showing it to take. Yeah, I do find, you know, once you find a technique that suits you, stick to it. As long as you do a nice simple draw, and that's why I've always said about the soft action tip. You've got a lot more feel. It's a nice job. Let it float back down. A lot of people float fish for them as well. You know, that's up to you. If you want to do that, cast the float out and have the squid jig underneath it, and then the motion of the water with the float will do it. That's quite popular as well. But I find this rod, like I spoke about, H2 Nebula, is perfect. It's quite got a bit of grunt here. The tip then, as you can see, lovely and soft. I find if you use a stiff rod, you can lose a lot of them. Oh, there's one. That's the talk, look. That's the talking. There we are. Just speaking to you there. Let me go one. Whoa, nearly had me. And there we go one. But what I've done there, as you can see, I put the expensive jig there, and I put a cheaper one from the internet on there, but it's a bit heavier to get it down in there. And yet again, look, it's just taken the most expensive one. So we are sort of proving the point. But I'm going to get him dispatched now, put him down there, because he's going to ink everywhere. That's all I did was then, because there's quite a bit of a current, I put a heavier one on the bottom, and I put the most expensive one then on top. But yet again, it's gone for there, so we are sort of proving a point, which is not good. That, you know, the expensive one is definitely clean up. So I'm going to dispatch him now, get back in there, and we'll see if we can get some more. Oh well, we managed to get some cuttlefish and some squid in some really difficult conditions. But as you've seen, I know it's hard to say it, but I'll try it again. I will. On another occasion, the expensive squid absolutely killed it. All the cuttlefish, all the squid, all came to the expensive one, which is quite sad to see, because as you can see, they're practically identical colours, look exactly the same shape, but I don't know what it is. But the most expensive one caught all the squid. Squid fishing, I got to say, is absolutely addictive. I come down here with Steve Perry, and we say we're going to do a bit of sole fishing. We start squid fishing, and we're there then until about 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. It is absolutely, like I said, addictive. I love doing it. And you can do it anywhere. You can nip down, as we spoke about, nip down to Chesil Beach. There's relevant piers around Hampshire, all over the UK. That's all you need is obviously a pier with a bit of light in it. That will draw the bait fish, and obviously that will draw the squid. Yeah, fantastic fun. Came down on different conditions. I managed to get some squid. The cuttlefish were a bit of a pain, but you know, a great bait. And I've harvested some good bait for when I go out on the rocks and that fishing, because it's fantastic bait for conger and huss and that, the cuttlefish are. And then I've got squid then for my ray and all that. But I hope you enjoyed it, and you can see the technique I used for jigging on a pier. It's just quick movements, let it flutter down. And like I spoke about, the only issue, if it goes down too close to the bottom, the cuttlefish are on it straight away, and the squid are normally just above them. The conditions have got even worse now, so that's me done. I'm only 5 minutes from my house. I'm going to collapse this, jump in the car and get myself home. But I hope you had an insight into squid fishing. Inexpensive, lovely and light fishing, great for the kids. You know, come down on the evening out, because the evenings are drawing out dark. Go down to a local pier, see if there's a light on it, and then just give a squid jig down there. You'll know if they're there within about 20 minutes. But great fun and great bait. But as always, thank you very much for watching, and if I don't see you on the beach, I'll see you on the channel. Enjoy your fishing, everyone.